Hey, lovely peoples, how are you doing? Nice to have you with us again. And, this is a video that I have been thinking about for over 6 months. A friend said, Charles, you have to check out the Temple of Seti in Abydos, way, way down in Upper Egypt. Down there, and Valley of the Kings is even lower. It seems to be a temple dedicated to power flight, reconsecrated possibly as a temple to Seti the First. And for months I've been saying, give me some more proof of this. And this is a friend, a lady who lives in Egypt, near Baval and all these other luminaries. And she went into this temple of Seti, and she said, she basically said, it seems to be dedicated to flight. It's just an incredible temple. It seems devoted to flight. There are these pictures of massive vultures on the ceiling, on the walls, and she's sure of this. She's sure of it. And this person is actually extremely smart, a very good Egyptologist. And I was saying, but give me more evidence. I can't make a video. I just can't make a video unless I'm convinced. And today, I found the proof, because we always have to prove something to turn it into a theory. I found the proof. This is a temple dedicated to basically the Egyptian version of GARUDA or Ganda, a massive giant mechanical bird on which humans could fly. And of course, their ancient mythology is our reality. So it's been found that the vultures, which are very big in Upper Egypt, down south, it was a huge god in Upper Egypt, and it's been found by one Egyptologist that it's the griffin vulture. That's the actual bird, which is almost identical to depictions of Garuda, Ganda. More a vulture than an eagle, to be honest. And this is the temple of Seti I in Abydos in Egypt. Right? Very beautiful, very nice. New Kingdom style design, except for the fact that the pillars inside, those huge pillars, to me, they're very Third Dynasty, possibly. These temples are reused and reused and reused. One thing we have at Abydos is the Osirion near the temple of Seti. So we know the high technology goes all the way back, and I think this temple is dedicated to high technology, to the Ring Lord. We're going to find out very soon, because that's the evidence I found. So this is at the Temple of Seti. And I said to my friend, but this has been debunked. And she said, no, this is evidence. And she said she's been there, she's had a look. She knows about the idea that these are characters which are overwritten on top of earlier characters. But she's still convinced they intended it to look like flying vehicles. And to be honest, people are easily fobbed off. People are easily put off. Things are easily explained away by things which are not explanations to begin with, but people don't always appreciate this. So why would you overwrite certain characters? So that's a T, for instance, this cake of bread, or that's something else, or it's glyphs on top of glyphs, but it's been done. Why has it been done? And that's the question. Why would you do it? Would you want to make a picture that looks like something else? And so here's a virtual tour, and straight away, looking at this temple, I see what she means. Your eye, where are your eyes drawn? In any high-ceilinged room, it kind of feels empty and creepy, unless there's lots of decorations, and you look up. Your eyes are drawn to looking up, and then you see flight above you, the vultures flying above you on the ceiling. And you think to yourself, what kind of primitive people would worship vultures and all this? What's all this nonsense? But then you read the Asian legends of Garuda and Ganda, and it clicks. It all makes sense. We'll do that. We'll do that in this video. So there's a lot of huge birds drawn inside this temple. And this is one of the reliefs. And the evidence is upcoming that this is actually the Ring Lord of high technology, WAYLAND, the technology god. And it's all starting to make sense and come together, especially with the Osirion outside, which is a high technology cut stone. He's carrying this, and it's a ring. That is a ring. And we're going to get into looking at what that ring is. Look at the colors, the red, the blue, and the white. Note those colours down. And this is Mithril from Lord of the Rings. And who created Mithril according to ancient legend? It wasn't called Mithril, but it was an impenetrable vest. And it was a person called WAYLAND. And what WAYLAND did, he was an artificer, and he created magical rings. He made this, and he could fly. Boom. And this is, I think, possibly one of the earliest depictions of the bird goddess. I've raved about Maria Gimbutas's anthropological work in basically deciphering the old religion of Europe. We're talking 5000 BC, simply by looking at old European statues. Here we have the woman goddess as the bird goddess, but one thing she didn't notice, I believe, is the rings. The ring, this is the ring goddess. It's been mixed in with WAYLAND, because WAYLAND can turn into a flying creature and fly away when he wants, and he made the rings. This is what legends do. They mix up with each other. And we see that this vulture, which is depicted in the Temple of Seti, is called Nekbet. It's basically that. It's basically the woman, the divine woman. According to legends, this goddess was around forever. It's referred to as the two ladies. It's the mother of mothers who have existed from the beginning, and we know this is a Stone Age goddess. Patron of the Upper Egypt city of Nekeb, oldest oracle in Egypt. It's a very old goddess because from the Stone Age. Well, I suppose like many of the gods and goddesses, they're all from the Stone Age. And the symbol is known as the Shen ring. It carries the Shen ring. Anything inside the ring was eternally protected, as it was a symbol of divine power. Interesting. Also, lotus, water lily symbolize the sun, creation, rebirth, regeneration, and represented Upper Egypt. Okay, and also the eye. There's an eye on the headdress, on the crown. We've talked about the Eye of Osiris, haven't we? And the Osirion is there as well. We've deciphered how the Eye of Osiris works. Probably something which fell from heaven, and that's why Horus is missing. It's the eye of Horus, actually, and that's why Horus is missing one eye. So there we see. You could call it Nekbet. They've written Horus, but you could call it Nekbet as well, holding the two divine rings. So this is the Shen ring that is being carried by the bird. And the Shen ring is carried by the falcon god Horus, but also the vulture goddess Nekbet. It was used as early as the 3rd dynasty, where it was seen as reliefs from Joseph's step period. Look, we don't see it earlier because there's hardly anything existing before the third dynasty, so it doesn't mean it wasn't around. All right. Now, the goddess Heket, the frog, is often seated on a Shenu for eternity, Ren pit. Papyrus stalk is usually based on top of the Shen ring. So this ring protects you and you live forever. It's, you know what? It sounds like Bilbo Baggins, doesn't it? And it should. So let's get into WAYLAND the Smith. And we've talked about this with regards to Kalanish. And I've said, look, this is a sacred place to WAYLAND because there's an island there where he would have been exiled. And basically, to summarize it all up, WAYLAND is a smith who was enslaved by a king. WAYLAND takes revenge by killing the king's sons, and he rapes the daughters as well. And then he escapes by crafting a winged cloak and flying away. Interesting. Let's get into the legend. A bit more detail there. We want some more detail, don't we? According to the Velkundarkfjordha, the king of the Finns had 3 sons. One was WAYLAND. And in one version, the brothers lived with 3 Volkers. After 9 years, the Volkers left their lovers. In another version, Volundr married the Swan Maiden. They had a son, Jaime. And then he left Volundr. And his love left him with a ring. In the former myth, he actually forged 700 duplicates of this ring. So this guy's high technology. And he was captured. Now it's not smart capturing basically the devil, right? The bad god. The doer, devil, give, doer. He's the giver and the doer. So Neothad captured Volundr in his sleep and ordered him hamstrung and imprisoned on an island. There Volundr was forced to forge items for the king. Volundr's wife's ring was given to the king's daughter. Neodad, the king, wore Volundr's sword. So see, the Excalibur actually could have been made by WAYLAND. Volanda. Who else would have made Excalibur? In revenge, Volanda killed the king's sons when they visited him in secret and fashioned goblets from their skulls, jewels from their eyes, and a brooch from their teeth. So you see, he's doing all this technology, and it's very gruesome stuff. He sent the goblets to the king, the jewels to the queen, and the brooch to the king's daughter. You see? It's Titus Andronicus. When Bofild takes her king to Volanda for mending, he tricks her into drinking beer and she passes out. While Bofild lies unconscious, Volanda rapes her. As she wakes up laughing, a laughing Volanda flies to Neothad's hall where he explains how he has murdered the king's sons, fashioned jewellery from their bodies, and fathered a child with Blofeld. The crying king laments that his archers and horsemen can't reach Volanda, as the smith flies away never to be seen again. Neothad summons his daughter, asking her if Volanda's story is true. The poem ends with Blofeld stating that she was unable to protect herself from Volanda as he was too strong for her. And there he is. Here's his tools, his forge, the sun, I suppose, the dead decapitated bodies of the king's sons. There's the daughter, and he's flying away. And now, we have this vulture, a bad bird feasting on the carrion, waiting for species to die, a perfect analogue to Wayland, and he's carrying a ring, you see. And the colours, I want you to look at the colours, the red, the blue, the white. Look at the Asian colours, blue and red. It's the same bird as in Asian legend, the giant Gandabarunda or Garuda. So let's look at that legend. So Garuda's mythology is quite interesting. It's basically the mythology of the phoenix. It's the same bird as the phoenix. After incubating them for 500 years, Kadru's eggs hatched out, and out came her 1,000 sons. So this is Kadru asked for 1,000 Naga sons. These are snakes. Oh, by the way, who's the son of Wayland, of Volanda Loki? A snake and a dog and a woman called Hel. So it's the same legend. While Vinata asked for just 2, but gave an equal to all of Kadru's 1,000 sons, Kashyapa blessed him and then retreated to a forest to meditate. Later, Kadru gave birth to 1,000 eggs, while Vinata gave birth to 2 eggs. After incubating them for 500 years, as the Phoenix legend, Kadru's eggs hatched and out come the 1,000 sons. Vinata, eager for her own sons, impatiently broke one of her eggs. From the egg emerged a partially formed Arjuna. Oh, there's the stone monkey, looking radiant and reddish as the morning sun, but not as bright as the midday sun as he was promised to be. Okay, so he's a bit defective. Arjuna chided his mother, Vinata, for her impatience and warned her not to break open the second egg, cursing her to be a slave until his brother rescued her. Arjuna then left to become a charioteer for Surya, the sun god. Now, here we go. Vinata waited, and after many years, the second egg hatched and Garuda was born. After losing a bet to Kadru through trickery, Vinata was forced to become her slave. Garuda later on asked his brothers to free his mother from her slavery, to which they demanded Amrita from heaven. Garuda, that's an eternal nectar. Garuda waged a war against the gods with his extraordinary might and abilities beyond thinking, and defeated all of them, including Indra. So this is the technology. He then took Indra's nectar vessel and flew back to Earth. So he's flying in outer space. Vishnu then came to Garuda and asked him to be his ride, to which he agreed. Indra's request that Garuda not give up the Amrita to the Nagas, though, as would bring great trouble later, so they forged a plan. Upon reaching his brothers, Garuda placed the vessel before them and asked them to first purify themselves before drinking. Meanwhile, Jainata, the son of Indra, stole the vessel back. On returning, the Nagas were devoured by Garuda. Some myths present Garuda as so massive he can block out the sun. The Garuda Purana is named after him. And so he eats snake meat. So he's like a vulture, you see. Just as a story about him planning to kill and eat Sumukha snake, where Indra intervenes. Garuda in anger vaunt about his feats and compares himself to Indra's equal. Vishnu teaches a lesson to Garuda and cured his pride on... someone can't speak English, write English. Garudas are also a race of birds who devour snake in the epic. So Garuda is basically the chariot of Vishnu, and Vishnu flies around on top of Garuda, and there's Garuda with a very demonic face, basically the same kind of bird that we see in the temples in Egypt here at Seti, the temple of Seti I. So now, because we hardly have anything from ancient Egypt, all the books have been destroyed by absolute savages who burned the Library of Alexandria. Just how do you describe people like that? They're not even human. They're just savages, really. They're just you know, it's ridiculous. But anyway, so we don't have the Egyptian legend, but we have a lot more from Asian legend about this goddess. And there's Garuda with Vishnu, and it's kind of, you know, it's kind of the same bird as that, isn't it? It's the same bird. It's really the same. They're really the same thing. It looks the same. So there's the temple of Seti I, and here's some proof that it was reconsecrated. In the tomb of Seti I, we see the arched vault, of course, which means that a female should be buried there. And of course, I don't believe Seti was a female. There is lots of evidence that this was a technology temple dedicated to this technological artificer, WAYLAND, or whatever his name was, in pre-Egypt, and it's been redone. My friend pointed out the temple is literally held up by, it appears to be held up by vultures. The vultures are 8 feet tall, and that's trying to tell us something, possibly heavy lifting in ancient times by flight. In addition, we have legends from ancient Egypt, from where the pyramids were built, of flying stones. We have the Easter Islands. The Easter Islander statues, according to one legend, flew through the sky. Now you're going to need some enormous cranes. They could be talking about cranes. You lift something up, it flies through the sky. Or is it mechanical flight? You see, flight is the indispensable element of pyramid engineering, because you need to move things through the air. You can't just lift them up stone by stone by stone, or it was just cast. So in Easter Island lore, we have flight as well. Easter Island was basically discovered in a dream by Hotomatu, a general of pre-Inca legend who engaged in a civil war. He dreamed by flying over the Pacific, and he found Easter Island. And of course, the Easter Islanders, they come from the redheads, the giants. So this is just absolutely fascinating. Now, it seems to me, and this is so interesting, that there is clearly, based on all this, a tradition of flight in Egypt. Otherwise, the pyramids would have be built from rubble. Yeah. So what form did the flight take? Was it balloons? You needed balloons to see the Nazca lines. So, you know, flight is a missing component. So let's look at a few more pictures. That's the temple again. We've seen that though. And here's a tomb of Seti I. Huge vulture. The eyes are drawn to just the vulture. That's interesting. Again, from the tomb of Seti I. There's Toph, the monkey from heaven, very similar to the vulture. Again, Seti I. Again, what are the eyes drawn to? They look towards the heavens, but also to that bird. It just dominates the vision. And that's a ceiling from the tomb of Seti I. As you see, flight, comet. And here is a big clue. You know, the stone monkey who fell from heaven, the Joker, the Waylands, the vulture, the Garuda, whatever you want to call it, the Joker god from heaven, there's his emblem falling down from the sky, here in the tomb of Seti I. And again, the arch. So, hope you've enjoyed the video. Check out my book, Proof of the Gods. What do you think? I think this was a tomb dedicated to the technology god, and dedicated to flight and high technology, as my friend suggested. Bye-bye.